So, but it was nice. So I got Ken Leon-Guerrero in the studio. We're probably going to venture into the realm of I don't know, politics before too much longer. But he did want to talk about some keto stuff. Now you sent me a thing earlier today with a picture of a guy and a whole bunch of keto words on it. Well, what was that? Before I get it up on the screen.
Well, that was the conference. Well, the speaker we're going to have on Monday. He is Dr. Eric Westman. He's one of the leaders in the low-carb movement. He's been treating patients with a low-carb diet, keto diet, for almost 30 years. He's had thousands of patients go through his clinic, at Duke University Medical Center.
Right.
And he has been able to help thousands of people deal with obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and cardiac disease. Problems that are very, very prevalent here on Guam.
Hey, dude, that sounds like most of the things that'll kill you if you get COVID.
Oddly enough, according to a newspaper back in June.
Yeah.
70-something% of the people who passed away with COVID also had diabetes. And that's a big problem here. As we know, I can't think of a single family that doesn't have one or multiple members suffering from diabetes.
Well, frankly, I'm surprised the number of fatalities isn't higher, considering the rampant way that diabetes has impacted this island over the years. Do you see how many diabetic centers that we've got here? And
that's scary.
And
that we have that many. We have six renal centers here, where people go for dialysis several times a week, and they spend 2 to 3 hours a day on those machines. And this just blows my mind because we have 6 here. And then you look at Alabama, which has a diabetes rate greater than Guam, but they also have 3 million people, and they have 19 centers for 3 million people. We have 6 centers for 160,000.
So again, I'm surprised, and it's one of those things where I keep thinking, maybe this isn't the pandemic we were sold. If that one of our precarious populations has not been picked off completely as a result of this, no denying what we see in this is one of those things. I talk to people that go on diets all the times, and usually within a short amount of time, they clear off some weight, and I don't know, 3 months later, 4 months later, the weight is back on, and it's even harder to take off that way. But I'm also a firm believer in what I see with my own eyes, and I know where you were. I know what you looked like 2 years ago, and I know what you look like now. In fact, I'm going to put that back up on the screen so everybody can see what it is that I'm talking about. There is the now skinny Ken Leon-Guerrero. Ken, believe it or not, and you look at the pictures here on your screen, YouTube and Facebook, Ken Leon-Guerrero is probably wearing a set of slacks that is at least one size smaller than me. And I can see. And I just ran over. I just cleared 190 pounds, maybe for the first or second time in my life, in the last week or so. I think it's cancer, but I don't know.
I'm closing in on you.
Exactly.
I'm down to 213 pounds from 340.
But you're size 34 waist now?
34 slim. I got to put that slim in there because the 34 regulars, I had to wear a belt.
Yeah,
it blew my mind. I'm having to wear a belt with 34s.
Was talking with Dave Sablon. Another one of our friends and real keto believers. And how much does he believe in it? He wants to go shopping with me. He says, "Let's go to Payless." And I'm like, I'm almost ready to take him up on it. But
I would because you were talking earlier.
Only if he buys. I want him to buy.
Make sure you ride the cart, Ray.
Yeah,
have him push you in the cart.
My daddy Dave. But the fun part of it obviously would be if he paid. But just to go around, because I do every once in a while. We'll put a thought into my head about what kind of beer I want to drink, and I know that there's some low carb solutions for that.
There are.
Michelob Ultra is a very low carb drink. Heineken Light, low carbs, low calories, low alcohol. You can drink a 12-pack of that and not feel it at all. And some people would ask, what's the point? To which I respond, I haven't come up with an answer to that question yet, but I'm working on it.
It just goes back to management. In my situation, because I was so overweight, I mean, I was knocking on 45% BMI, which is 45%.
Some people say that's why you didn't win the seat in the legislature. You're too fat. They got enough.
They
fat
didn't
people
have
at the
any.
legislature.
They didn't have any seats big enough for me.
Dave Sablon just sent me a smiley emoji here. It's going on. I'm sorry, we've met our quota of fat guys at the legislature. But I'm delighted. So when's this guy going to be here?
He's going to be speaking to us via Zoom conference on our Guam Keto Project.
Yeah.
And you need to know about this because when you take over Jeff's, this program, we're doing it with the support of Jeff.
Right.
And because he believes in the program that strongly as well. And you've seen how he's been transforming himself. So what this is, it's about a lifestyle change because lifestyle changes are more sustainable than diet. I mean, I did the zone, I did the South Beach, I did the Mediterranean, I did the cabbage. I mean, every diet that came out, I did it. And I was successful for 25, 30, 40 pounds. And then after that point, it's not sustainable anymore. But if you've been following my Facebook pages and you see the foods I'm eating, I'm forced to eat steak.
I'm forced to eat steak.
Yeah, I'm forced to eat steak and, blue cheese and salads. I get double dressings on my salads.
So I'm a meat guy, meatophile. I like my meat. I'm not real crazy about steaks. I can take it or leave it. But I like bacons. I like processed meats. I'm crazy about Spam. I'm crazy about hot dogs and things like that. So I can eat those things. And one of my favorite meals, it might be lunch today, is a couple of hot dogs and a can of pork and beans. Is that considered some ketoness in theirs?
Well, the hot dogs are, the pork and beans aren't. But if you look at the carb count, that's the trick. Look at total carbs and look at that number. We target 20 grams a day or less.
Okay.
So if you look at the total carb count on those pork and beans, and the serving size is 2 per can, let's say it's 20 grams.
You've done your homework on this, yeah.
Well, once you learn what your specifics are, then you don't need to look anymore.
Does that number change? That 20 grams that you're talking? Does that change with individuals? I mean, so could I be a 40
You could
gram
be
guy?
a 50 or you could be an 80 because of your level of activity and the fact that you're not as metabolically challenged as I was.
Well,
I was
different age.
Yeah, I was battling a lot of illnesses: sleep apnea, diabetes, high blood pressure, diverticulitis, arthritis. So that's why I went low. But my son, who you saw walk in with me, he eats between 50 and 100 grams a day because he's very physically active. He doesn't have any of the challenges I have. So he eats a wider variety of foods than I do with a higher level carb count.
Right.
He eats oatmeal in the morning. Well, that's 30 grams of carbs right there. But in my 300 plus pound days, and I didn't know this stuff, I would have a bowl of oatmeal in the morning, and I was a walker. I was walking 8 to 10 miles a day. So I'd start out at 4 o'clock in the morning with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Then at 8 o'clock, I'd have oatmeal. And then I had a Nature Valley bar at 10 o'clock, because the way they teach us, you have to eat 3 meals and 3 snacks a day.
I'm convinced that the dietary guidelines that have come out of the federal government of the United States of America are the number one reason for child obesity and obesity in general. I think they're among the worst advice that we can get comes from our federal government on diet. Okay, so let me get this guy back up on the screen here because there are going to be people that say, okay, well, when can I go watch him? And see the Jeff Pirates Cove logo up there. Does that mean that we can go in and see the guy and hear what he's got to say?
No, we're actually doing a live broadcast on Kandit.
Yeah.
And that's where we run our show through the Kandit network.
I see. Okay, all right. Well, I knew that you were doing stuff on Kandit. I didn't realize that this guy was going to be a part of it. All right.
Yeah, so every other week we're bringing in one of these pioneers and leaders to give the people of Guam access to ask questions as if they were in a live situation. Because this guy, prior to COVID, was flying all around the world, meeting with people in Indonesia, Malaysia, Australia, the Philippines, Japan, China. And he would meet with groups of people that wanted to take control of their health because their health systems weren't doing it for them. And so he was going around sharing information because this is a lifestyle changes within our power to do. If you look at Guam back in the 50s and 60s, we had no diabetes. We had no high blood pressure. We had no heart disease.
50 gene.
But then as we changed our diet to where we went from working the land to sitting behind a desk and making phone calls, that changed everything. And that's when we saw the diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, heart disease rates skyrocket. Well, by changing our lifestyle, we can go back to eating just by eating healthier. I mean, people ask me, what kind of exercise routine did you do to lose 97 pounds? I say, curls. They go, curls? I said, yeah, I take my fork and curl it up to my mouth, and that's how we did it.
So Monday morning at 10 o'clock on the Kandit News Group, you will be on. This guy will be on, and they'll be talking about that. I imagine there'll be links to a variety of the books and the services that he has. And let me ask you this question here, because we're social media guys, as you pointed out, and on Instagram, Facebook, every once in a while, about every fourth story or so, there's somebody that's trying to sell me a diet plan for COVID. $1.99, and you get 500 of these things and all the other stuff, and it looks kind of interesting. To what degree do you have to spend in order to get educated on keto diets?
0.
I was hoping that would be the number.
Yeah, because you're going to be buying food anyway. It's all about making smarter decisions about what food you buy. And the worst thing you can do is buy keto products. You go into a store, and I won't say the name, but right there in the aisle, they have these keto cookies. And you look at the carb count on the keto cookies, and it says 19 per serving. And then you look at the serving size, half a cookie. Who eats half a cookie?
Right.
That's 38 total carbs in one cookie, and there's 2 cookies in the pack. So you're looking at 76 grams of carbs in that package of cookie, but they've got keto on it very prominently.
I got you. My friend Alan is writing this morning. He says, I started keto 4 months ago, lost 30 pounds in 8 weeks, went from 196 down to 165. Good for the other, Governor. Discipline is the key, as he writes. 888-825-5888-TALK is the telephone number around here. We'll spend. You want to know more about this? Ken LG is probably the second easiest guy to find on Guam. I'm number one, but you can find him on the social medias, and to be happy to talk to you about that. You can reach him through Kandit, and he'll tell you the rest of his keto journey to whatever degree that's interesting. You need to throw in some more adventurous stuff in here, other than I just changed my eating and got a little bit more exercise. There needs to be sword fighting and crap like that. At any rate.
Yeah.
929. Last thing before I let you go here, getting back to the keto deal. I got a picture on my WhatsApp here. This is Dave Sablon's breakfast today. I'll give it to you like this. There's a before picture. The after picture is nothing but a bunch of dirty plates. But we've got a variety of my favorite meats here. I see what looks like some kind of luncheon meat. I'll call it spam. I might not need to. What looks like some bangers. On the other one, that's not potatoes. That's got to be some kind of eggs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's scrambled eggs, but he's got more egg white than he's got egg yolk.
It sure looks like that. There's some fresh tomatoes in there,
yep.
and some string beans. That looks like it's got to be keto bread out there, and some more tomatoes, or maybe they're strawberries. I don't know. Strawberries are allowed because there are some fruits that
strawberries
you're not supposed to eat. And then there's a big pat of butter. Butter's okay.
Yeah. You see, what Dave does is he counts his carbs, and he has a slice or two of bread once a day. So he's under the 50 gram. He eats 50 grams of carbs or less a day, but he's a lot healthier than I was, and I'm still working on issues. That's why I stay at 20 grams. So at 50 grams a day, like I told you, my son does somewhere between 50 and 100 a day, but he's younger, doesn't have any health issues, and he's very physically active. Dave here, hey, he's beat a number of major health issues.
Yep.
His energy levels are through the roof. And one of the things I like about this show right here is through our conversations we've had over the past 6 months on keto, we have inspired a number of people. And just before coming here, someone heard that I was going to be here.
Yeah.
And they sent me a message telling me that as a result of a conversation we had a few months ago, he went keto. And in 90 days, he lost 33 pounds. His A1C dropped from 10.6 to 5.2. Big. And he is wearing clothes he hasn't worn in years.
Quick question from Boris. Isn't ketchup loaded with sugar and carbs?
Yes, it is. So you look at the count, and you either get a keto-friendly ketchup, and there are a number of websites that sell. I mean, manufacturers put sugar in everything.
Yes.
So
in most ketchups, it's high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, that's even worse.
You can at Payless get a natural one with which uses cane sugar to offset the bite of the tomato.
Yeah, but you can also find ketchups that don't have any sugar in them, that have artificial sweeteners in place of sugar. And that's helpful. But, when you're eating this way, it's all about looking at carb count. And like when I have a salad at one of the restaurants, I get double blue cheese because for 1 tablespoon, one of those little containers of dressing, 1 gram of carb. So I'm having a salad. I'm usually getting, one of the chef salads or something that's meat loaded.
Yeah, so you can load up with a lot of flavor.
Because my limit to myself is 10 grams of carb per meal because I only eat 2 meals a day. So I get 2 or 3 of those blue cheese dressings and put them on top of the salad. So it's like my wife says, would you like a little salad with your dressing?
I'm a dressing fan. Chris LG reminding me about a thing called the Primal Kitchen. Nick Perlowski says, my doctor said I needed to lose weight. I lost 165 pounds. Got rid of my doctor.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing about this way of eating, it's effortless. You can do elbow bends all day long. It all depends on what's on the other end of the elbow. Some people it's beer, some people it's a steak. In my case, it's steak.
Chris LG says Primal will ship to Guam.
Yeah.
So if that's something, if you just want to get some pantry items to go along with whatever it is that you're going to be buying, on a weekly basis.
He buys barbecue sauces, mustards, mayonnaises, ketchups, and stuff like that. And quite frankly, the tasting of those products it's hard to tell the difference between those and regular ones.
Now we're talking about how many grams of carbs you're going to allow yourself a day. What is the? And you say you're 20, and maybe Dave's at 50. And at some point you're just going to go, okay, now you're just kidding yourself. What's the high end on this gram count? Where
everybody's different.
I'm borderline keto. Well, how do we find out? What is it? A survey that you take? Or?
No, you get those little keto strips over at Rexall and you pee on one. As long as it shows a color, you're in ketosis.
Okay.
Ketosis means you're burning fat instead of burning carbohydrates.
Right.
Now that I'm fat adapted and I'm burning fat, when I don't... Here's the trick. When you're carb loaded, you're burning glucose, and you always crash when you're running out of glucose. That's why people snack all the time.
Yeah.
But when you're running on ketones, you're fat adapted. The body has a tremendous amount of fat. So when you run out of fat in your stomach, your body starts burning the fat in your body. And that's why you're never hungry. I sometimes can go all day without eating, because I still have enough reserves on my body that I don't feel hungry.
Somebody asking me about fat bombs on the drill. What's he asking? Ask Ken if he has fat bomb recipes.
Don't use fat bombs, because the more fat you eat or drink, the less fat you burn. And I'm more interested in burning my body fat than burning fat that comes out of a can.
I see.
So I don't use fat bombs. I did try fat bombs once upon a time, but I noticed when I was starting doing that fat bombs, I stopped losing weight because I wasn't burning my body fat. So I'm more interested in burning my body fat than burning something out of a can.
Interesting conversation. 9:35, as you know, I'm a runner, and at one of these days I'm going to get myself back into a position where I can do long distance running at 26 miles, 13.1 miles, and things like that. Generally, before we do that, there's a whole bunch of carbo loading.
Well, you might look at some of the videos on high-performance athletes when they switched over to running on ketones, because the liver can only store 3,000 grams of glucose. That's why you hit the wall, and you hit the wall fast, especially when you're distance.
Yeah.
And what they have found, and this is what the special forces are going to, a lot of athletic teams like soccer teams and basketball teams, their whole teams are switching over to this way, because the body can store 20 to 30, 40, 50,000 grams of fat in the body, as we know. I mean, you remember what I looked like before. I was almost 50% body fat. So when you are burning fat, you don't hit the wall, because you store far more fat in your body than you do glucose.
Okay.
And so when you get back to running, you're going to feel the difference. And there have been all kinds of studies done on this with performance athletes. In fact, one of the more famous ones.
Well, I just need to in my head. I need to combine a couple of things, because I'm looking at next year I'll be 60 Grand Master. Is that right? Yeah, GM. I become a GM next year.
You will be.
Grandmaster. Yeah.
well,
that doesn't mean I'm any good. It just means I've outlived the rest of the guys. And so in order to do that, and I just I'm looking at a couple of things. Last thing before I grab a call here is, what about iron? Do you are still getting enough vitamins and minerals and everything that you're eating?
More than enough.
Okay, because I worry about iron in particular.
Well, if you're eating the levels of meat and vegetables that I'm eating, because like when we eat a lot of spinach, a lot of kale, a lot of Brussels sprouts,
Oh my God,
asparagus.
yeah.
You know, I take my asparagus,
stuff
wrap
that
it up
makes your-
in bacon, and
Yeah.
fry it that way. You
So
know?
you might be curious. That's all of what he just mentioned. All the things that you can eat that make your pee smell.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like I'm obsessed. I'm not. 9:37 in the morning. Is this Jess on one?
It's Jason Cruz.
Jason.
Yeah, the
bodybuilder.
Jason.
Bodybuilder.
Yeah,
Oh my
the
God,
real
you're a big
Jason.
inspiration to everybody. Hey, Jace, how you doing?
Hey, Ray.
Buenas de Navide. What's on your mind?
Oh no, I was listening to your show and I was listening to your guest there, and I'm all nothing but smiles because I've actually been doing this for 20 years.
Ah,
Congratulations. That
Yeah,
puts you at the
this
leading edge of this ketonic movement.
you should be doing seminars.
It's funny because everything that you're talking about, I've been eating like that since 2001, and I never really knew what how to eat keto.
You just did it.
The way I prefer to train for bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
You notice you have your higher energy levels, because I'm sure Dave Sablon mentioned that to Ray as well, because one of the things that Dave noticed when he made this switch was that his energy levels just skyrocketed,
Well, it seems
and his
that-
golf
seems that,
game improved.
relight the fire in the metabolism factory on the body. That's interesting. Well, but for Jason and Ken, question from another listener here: does too much fat and protein adversely affect liver, kidneys, etc.?
Not at all.
Not
doesn't.
funny.
Also-
No connections.
You also got to remember, like what your guest is, he's talking about is that you're changing your lifestyle, and when you're fat adapted, like you said, and I can attest to that. I train for bodybuilding every day, and my energy levels are still up there. I'm training for a show that's coming in December, and when I switched to hardcore keto, I started August 6th. By now, as of today, I've already lost over 22 pounds in like 3 weeks.
Oh my God, you're the master of the shred.
Well, it's not that. What he's doing here is because of his level of workout, he is burning his reserves. He's not storing any fat. See, the body is tuned to store fat for, the way we were born.
Distance runners. Your body all of a sudden adapts to storing as much as fat. It will convert almost immediately everything into fat because it worries that you're going to put it through
Absolutely.
the stress of a half marathon or a marathon. And so your body, you got to trick your body out of that somehow. And maybe keto is the right way to do that. And a few other comments here. People who are high fat, low carb diets for a year had more anxiety, depression, and anger than people on a low fat, high carb diet. Anything to that? Roland's asking.
High fat, low carb.
Said you have more anxiety, depression, and anger.
On a low fat, high carb, yes. You have more depression, anxiety on a low carb, high fat. No, wait, backwards.
Okay,
Low,
yeah. So,
because my wife was on depression meds.
Roland's point is that you're eating a lot. If you're eating a lot of high fat, low carbs, then you might be more prone to anxiety, depression, and anger.
It's the opposite.
You disagree?
It's the opposite. My wife was on depression meds for almost 30 years.
I know who she's married to. I understand.
And
I totally agree. I
and
Ray, you see me all the time, and when do I ever look depressed?
No. I get it, and you talk about somebody that's got every right in the world to have anxieties and issues. You were dealt a tough hand, and you've been throwing down aces every single time I've seen you. So I'm delighted. If part of it has to do with your diet, then I'm happy to help tell that part of the story.
yeah,
Thanks, Ray.
it is a large part in there, because what happens here is the brain prefers ketones to glucose. And when they've known this for years. They used to treat children and people with epilepsy with a high-fat diet before there were any meds that treat epilepsy. And now we're getting back to that. And in my situation, not only has my energies gone way up, and I'm getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm probably up before you. But it also helps clear the thinking process. I'm sure you can attest to that as well, that you find that your brain is clearer, don't you? In addition to your workouts?
I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I'm up on a treadmill at 4 o'clock, out the door. My energy's up. And then I also train in the afternoon, then do cardio in the evening again. And still, feel good. So.
Yeah, well,
that sounds like a great routine. And look, he works out at a gym. He doesn't need to, but Jason, you can find Jason over at the gym that I know of. You are not gym bound.
No, I'm not. But what has happened is I started working out not because I wanted to for weight loss. It's because I just had such energy. I started working out with bands, and when I first started, I had this routine.
Oh, I love bands.
It was 6 exercises. And when I first started, 3 repetitions, 20 each of 6 exercises, 20-pound band was kicking my butt. Now I'm up to 80 pounds on the bands as a result of, being diligent about that. So I'm up to 80 pounds on the bands on those 6 exercises.
So bottom line, you got a diet that's working for you. You've got an exercise routine that is also working for you. And the plus side of that exercise routine is it keeps you in a fat burning zone for quite a long time. So we got a number of things that are going on that all conspire to put you in a healthier bracket
but it's
that you're
sustainable. Everybody out there has gone on a diet at least once or twice in their life. Some people go on a diet every 30 days. The problem is they're not sustainable. This is sustainable. And the nice thing about it, especially as we're seeing the costs go up, the amount of food we eat has gone down a lot. And we've gone from 3 to 6 meals a day down to 2 meals a day, sometimes 1 meal a day.
These days I'm at the 1 meal a day, or attempt to be in the 1 meal a day category. It's 9:43 in the morning. 888-8255-888-TALK. Tell you what, we're going to bring Don into the conversation. Jason, I'm going to let you go, and then we're going to take a break and figure out how we're going to kill the next couple of minutes of talk radio. In the meantime, Don, good morning. You're on with Ken Leon-Guerrero.
Good morning, my brothers.
Oh, it's Adonis.
This is.
Are you using Don now? Is this because otherwise you're Adonis and everybody knows you're Adonis Keto Mendiola.
My friends call me Don, and that's why I introduced myself as Don to my friends.
I just wondering if you were bifurcating different parts of your life.
No.
All right, but go on.
No, I just wanted to thank you, Ray, for bringing on Brother Ken there and talking up the storm about how to get healthy in these times when everybody thinks it comes from big old pharma, and it doesn't. And I appreciate that because that's been a mantra of mine for a time, and helping people to sustain it or at least understand it and come into that knowledge. And it's difficult, right? Some people just want a pill, potion, or lotion or syringe. And thank God we have people who understand the healing power of letting your metabolic engine rest.
Absolutely. That's the big challenge right there, because and Adonis is a perfect example, because when you see his before and after photos from before he became a believer and after he became a believer, he became such a believer he changed his name. I haven't gotten quite to that point yet, though. People have started calling me Keto Ken.
But here's the reality: is there are people that will lump it into some kind of a diet cult, and it almost sounds like it is. And I'm not going to give you guys a hard time about it. I'm just going to say, from my perspective, there might be people that get turned off when they hear too much about it, and so I try to temper that conversation and try to make it more accessible for people like me who have a different rhythm and a different routine when it comes to modulation of my weight.
Well, this is hard. You hit a hard part for people like me and Adonis, because like when I'm standing there in the line at a supermarket and I see the person in front of me, what's in their cart, I'm so tempted to say, stop, but I don't, because this is everybody has to make this decision on their own. It's a free choice. It's a free choice. Just because I have been successful with it doesn't mean that you're going to be successful with it. And unless you want to be successful with it, you won't be. I mean, Adonis and I have encountered many people. In fact, I'm one of them. Adonis, who came down on me, he forced me to sit down with him many a time and gave me the lectures that I'm giving now. And he's probably laughing like crazy. Oh yeah, listen to
I'm
Ken
sure,
now.
and I'm
you
sure
know?
there's somebody that sat Adonis down and told him those that are laughing at both of you.
Yeah, but when we get to a point in my situation, I got to that point when my doctor handed me 7 prescriptions and said, "Okay, here's what you need to take." And I said, "Well, how do I avoid it?" He said, "Well, you lose weight." I said, "Okay, I'm lose weight." He says, "Everybody says that.
Yep.
Nobody does it.
No.
Take the prescriptions."
No, I'm still I still do just my multivitamins, a little bit of fish oil, and once or twice a week, based on doctor's orders, I'll take an iron pill just to make sure that I've got enough of that rolling around so that I can keep the engines in my muscles working at the same time. 947 Adonis, while I have you on the line, when is the next major protest that's going to be coming out? I've got people that will send me a note from time to time, say that they want to get involved.